in the nick of time.
I was around 16 to 17 years old when this happened. I'm 28 now. For some context, I was a poor high school student studying in a town located around 300 kilometers from my home. Back then, I lived in rural Moldavian Republic and studied in Romania, where I had a scholarship to cover most of my expenses. Now back to the story. After winter vacation had ended, I was returning from home by train. Now the train station was a really desolate place. There weren't any apartment buildings for almost a 1-kilometer radius or so. The train arrived at 11 p.m. and the buses circulated till around 11 p.m. This was Romania, so no actual reliable schedule. I was alone and there was a significant walking distance from the train station to my high school campus/dorm, but taking a taxi was far too expensive for me back then, and I didn't want to bother any of my friends or colleagues. So the stupid teenager I was proceeds to think I can simply walk to the nearest bus station, and if I'm lucky I'll get a bus. If not, then I'll just walk to campus. Around an hour walk. I got out of the train and it was a cold, dark night. The area around the train station was completely desolate, except for a few Romani shacks, gypsies if you're more familiar with this term, scattered around. I proceeded to start walking towards the campus. After a few minutes, I think I hear something behind me and I get a dreadful feeling. I ignore it and start walking faster. A few more seconds pass and I can hear someone calling me in a raspy voice. "Hey, beauty, why in such a hurry? Wait for me." I am really creeped out, but I can't find the courage to look behind me, so I start walking even faster. The guy behind me keeps up. I can now hear his footsteps. I get scared and proceed to walk the fastest I can without actually running. I hear him behind me. "Now that's not nice. Where do you think you're going?" I turn my head and see a dirty, shaggy man in his 30s. At this point, I am really scared. Beyond trying to keep my calm scared. The area around me is pitch black and silent. There are no houses, no people, and even no streets that have any traffic around. And I don't have a cell phone. This happened more than 10 years ago in Romania and I was poor. I proceeded to run. I ran as fast as I could towards the nearest populated, circulated street I could think of. I can hear him running behind me. Not only keeping up, but catching up on me. I reach the nearest circulated street and he is 2 steps behind me yelling angrily, "Where do you think you're going?" 2 seconds pass by and I see a small bus passing by. I was nowhere near a bus station, but I started moving my hands and gesturing frantically, trying to get the bus driver to stop. Happily, he noticed me, stopped, and just as I closed the door, still panicking, I see the guy grabbing at the door trying to open it. Too late. The bus starts moving away. I thanked the bus driver profusely. He said he noticed the guy running behind me and that I was in a panic and that's why he stopped. I am not a religious person, but damn, it felt like someone was looking after me and sent the bus in the nick of time to save me.
Some weirdo stole my brother's bathing suit.
When I was little, my parents would often dump my fraternal brother and I off on our much younger than them aunt whenever we visited family, and she usually took us to a nearby water park. This particular time, when we were about 5 or 6 years old, my aunt decided that my brother was old enough that he could use the men's changing room on his own. Usually, when our dad took us to the pool, I was the one on my own in the ladies' room, so he thought of it as an adventure, and I was glad to have company other than wrinkly old ladies who were way too sociable while naked. By the time we came out, my brother was already waiting for us, but he wasn't alone. There was a man standing beside him and talking to him, who fell silent as our aunt approached. Now, this was an area where everyone is very sociable and friendly, so my aunt, being younger and inexperienced with children, didn't immediately confront him. My brother was normally a cautious kid, but our family is large enough that we didn't know or remember half the people our parents left us with, so his normally acute stranger danger sense got kicked to the curb whenever we visited. For the rest of the time at the pool, the guy followed us around. He kept talking to my brother and trying to horse around with him, but pretty much ignored me. I got pretty upset that he liked my brother so much and had so much fun with him, but didn't want to hang out with me. My aunt had gotten increasingly uncomfortable and decided to leave early, and took us back to get changed as soon as the man left long enough for her to do so. She sent my brother through the men's changing room again, and I remember wondering if the man would help him out again, since they seemed to get along so well. I don't exactly know what happened in there, but when my brother met us at the entrance, he didn't have his swim trunks. When my aunt asked where they were, he just gave her a bewildered look and said, "I don't know." My aunt was about to ask someone to look for them when the man from earlier jogged up and said, "Here they are. He must have lost them." Then he handed over my brother's wet, crumpled bathing suit. My aunt was pretty freaked out at this point because she hadn't known that he had been in there with my brother, and suddenly thought, "Oh my God, he took his bathing suit." So she stuffed it in her bag, grabbed our hands, and power walked us to her car. My brother has no memory of this incident, thankfully, but it makes things a little hazy detail-wise, and my aunt, for some reason, didn't tell our parents. She just decided to tell us the story on Christmas, for some reason. I hadn't actually realized just how creepy the guy was as a kid. I just thought he was some cool older guy who hadn't liked me. So just remember to keep an eye out for kids at the pool, especially if they're little boys who are alone in the changing room.
I think I will always be followed.
People seem to like my last post about my neighbor, so I thought I would make another about a more recent experience. At the age of around maybe 14, 15, I just discovered a website named ask.fm, if any of you remember that. If not, it is a website that allows anonymous people to send you questions, which you can then answer publicly. I used it mainly to send my friends dumb questions about boys in school. For months it was all fine and fun for us. I remember being on Skype with my best friend at the time, Liv, when I received a question telling me exactly what I was doing and wearing at that exact moment. Naturally, I thought it was Liv messing with me, so I confronted her about it. She claimed that she didn't do it, but of course, I didn't believe her and naively assumed she was just trying to scare me. A few weeks went by, and by then Ask FM had been mostly ignored. People had started to move on to other apps and websites. On a whim, I decided to check my questions and found a bombardment of questions from an anonymous person who called himself Sean, again, detailing what I had been doing and wearing on certain days. At this point, I started to panic. I didn't tell anybody, however, as I was a complete and utter idiot. I started being more aware when I was out, checking for cars following me and trying to remember faces of passing people. Nothing ever seemed familiar. This continued for months without another question, and I once again assumed it was a joke from a friend. Around 6 months later, I was walking in a small forest with Liv, who I had assumed was behind it all. It was midwinter and around 5 p.m., so it was already dark out. As we were walking back home, as she lived next door to me, I hear someone shout my name at the top of their lungs. Naturally, we ran back to our houses as quick as we could. I could have sworn I saw a man dressed in black running the opposite direction. Once again, parents were not told. We thought we would get into trouble. The very next day, I got home from school and saw that my bedroom had been trashed. The only things missing were several sets of my underwear and a few pairs of socks. This was enough for me to tell my parents everything. Soon after, we moved. About a year ago, I was sorting through the post and I saw a letter. No postal address, just a piece of paper that said, "I miss you. Sean. XX." Going to try to attach some pictures from Ask FM,